Global Partnerships division at USAID, and so you now have you'll have the contact for that person. If you're interested or know of someone who's interested in the Ebola volunteerism program or volunteer program, Jonta Williams in our bureau is your contact, and as Ben said, she's a very giving, very wonderful person to work with. There is the African Diaspora Marketplace, the ADM. Jeff Jackson is our point of contact there, and I've known Jeff for a long time. He is totally engaged in this, has been working in the private sector for a long time in Africa, and so it can be very helpful in guiding you in how you're going to engage with the ADM or the African Women's Entrepreneurship Program. There's some special projects on diaspora, and so Shahai is our contact there. And then finally, sort of overarching, because that is my responsibility in the front office of the Africa Bureau, is AGOA Trade and Investment. So any and all of these things, and you have my email contact there, and with that, I'm going to stop.
Thank you so much to everybody who presented. You mentioned something about what needs to be done for transformational trade with Africa, and I think the key link is sitting right here before you, which is the diaspora, because nobody in this equation understands both sides like we do. So we would urge you to engage us more, and we hope after this we'll probably be more engaged with your office in making this transformational trade and more sustainable.
It's a two-way, and there has not been too many people who have called me. Right?
Guys,
so again, there's been, I've heard the word being proactive. Right now, especially right now, our bureau is totally engaged with Ebola, as you can well imagine. I mean, we are really up to this. So if you're waiting for me to call you,
yeah, man, her email is here. So we're going to open this up for Q&A, and we'll take 3 questions at a time. But before we go into that, I have a comment for USTDA. There's a DICOTA conference that took place, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago in DC, and I think it was Cheetah something. He mentioned that 68%.
Cheetah development.
Exactly. And he mentioned some very scary statistics, and one of them was that 68% of the aid that goes to Tanzania remains in Washington, D.C. And he said that partly it's because some of it goes towards feasibility studies and all those things that the diaspora is well positioned to do. So we hope the number will change and has changed, and we hope that the people sitting in this room can be the ones to do some of those feasibility studies and much, much more.
Absolutely. Can I respond? Thank you. Thank you for raising that. It's a really, really important point, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to address it. It's absolutely right that in terms of the way we provide assistance, we think of it as providing a grant of the technical services or the feasibility studies. So it is true that we will provide a contractor, U.S. contractor, to do the feasibility study, but we also, in the context of that, though, realize that it can't be done without the expertise and the knowledge of people on the ground, so that it really is a partnership. We expect that a portion of those funds are going to go to subcontractors on the ground to work on the feasibility study in question. And then in the end, we also make sure that there is a training or capacity building component also to the work that we're doing. So it is true that the way the assistance is set up is to provide our expertise, but it is in partnership. It is in partnership so that the partner's needs are known and the work responds to that. And then it just allows the partner to then go beyond to the implementation, which is actually the important part of it, in which they can choose anybody to do that work. So it's a very good question, and thank you for the opportunity to respond.
Okay.
My question goes to the representative from USAID, and after hearing such a wonderful presentation, and this is more like the 3rd time I've heard about USAID program, I was so much fascinated when I went back to Tanzania in the course of doing my project. And what I encountered was we tried to contact USAID, and based on the similar kind of information which we received in several presentations. And it turned out that there was a really, really stiff wall to get accessibility to anybody there, number one. And number two, we were told, in the health sector. So we were told that the health sector I'm dealing is not a priority. And they're only dealing with maternal and child health and infectious diseases. And that was just after a very big conference in Washington, D.C., addressing the issue of non-communicable diseases, which is the area I'm working on. And even to get somebody to respond on an email or a telephone was like, I wanted to contact White House. So I don't know how you reach the priorities in different countries, and I'm wondering if USAID can come up with mechanism where you can be able to accommodate this kind of impromptu projects. That's my question.
Thank you, Doctor. We'll take two more. Sure.
I'm a psychiatric social worker. I've been in the United States for 32 years, and I'm looking to return home. And one of my interests in listening to Ms. Shaw is I'd like to go home and do something more for the psychiatric population, mainly the geriatric population. I look like my dad, for example. He's a retired person. He's a professional, okay? But he's sitting at home, you know? So I'm looking into maybe starting a geriatric program, a social center where our fathers who are educated, now retired, have a place to go during the day and interact with one another, with their own peers, either playing cards, doing Scrabble, using the computers, something to sort of stimulating them, because, they get depressed, they end up drinking, something like that. Now, is this something that I can get grants for? Even children's centers for like the teens, women, depression, a lot of things that are going through. Is that something that the government can help me? Is that something, let's say, it's working? Because I hear a lot of things about business and investment. I'm not into that, That's what I would like to do. So I just wanted to know if I can tap into, let's say, USAID and come up with a proposal. Will I get grants? Will I be supported? And I guess asking the Tanzanian government on that side, is that something like in terms of psychiatric women and children, a lot of oppression that's going on. That's what I'm here to ask.
Thank you. Just for the sake of balance, we haven't had a question from this side of the room. Doctor.
My question actually is much more similar to what Dr. Semakura has actually talked about. Access to USAID and some. I'm sort of wondering, I was actually lucky enough, Dr. Semakura was actually able to reach out and actually meet somebody from the USAID office in Dar es Salaam. But I'm interested, I'm a professor at the University of Colorado, Denver. I'm interested in STEM science, and especially trying to figure out ways in which we can bring science to young kids in Tanzania and actually sort of really grow out the next sort of workforce for the future. And I asked about some of the priorities at USAID, and I was told that one of the major projects which they have, which was sort of priority, was helping schools, sort of basically retooling schools, building, sort of giving sort of part on the infrastructure rather than the knowledge, which I thought that was very important. We know that there are so many schools in Tanzania, and we're still building more. But we actually don't have good teachers, the science and math teachers. I was appalled looking at actually the syllabus in which they are using to teach our kids in Tanzania. No wonder Tanzanian kids cannot compete in East Africa, because they lack the basic science knowledge. So I think if there is any way in which USAID may actually sort of be able to start focusing on that and maybe cutting off from the infrastructure and start considering teachers as part of the general infrastructure, which actually allows for education to prosper in Tanzania.
The difficulty getting in contact with the aid mission in Dar. Tanzania has the unfortunate good luck of being one of the countries in Africa that has probably over 21 different presidential initiatives that the mission has to manage. Okay? That is a lot. I mean, that really is a lot. I'm not making excuses. It is just that when it is Congress that gives us money, the money is used primarily for program, not operating expense. So even though we are getting more and more initiatives, we are not getting necessarily the commensurate monies to run them. So our staff is really running almost full out. I just want to put that out there. So it's good for Tanzania because you've got like 21 presidential initiatives. But it does mean that it's sort of tough to get the staff. That's one thing. However, with respect to the health question, and there was, I guess, two. One was the wanting to do a geriatric center, to open that up, looking for grants. I've got to say that, again, Congress determines how our money is used, especially in the case of USAID. A lot of it is what is called earmarked. So we don't just get a block of money for Tanzania. Congress will say you will be given $15 million for maternal health and infectious diseases. They are very specific in how they want us to use it. We have very little discretionary funding. The same is true with infrastructure. Power Africa, which I think talked about a little bit, is a major presidential initiative. Tanzania is one of those countries for Power Africa. But what it means is if we're using money for Power Africa, generation, distribution, transmission and distribution, given the budgetary realities of the United States right now, that means that there isn't money for something else. I mean, that is unfortunately the case. There is a recognition, however, it is not that we are not aware or appreciate the fact that just building infrastructure is not enough, and especially in the education sector. I mean, there is a very strong recognition that qualified teachers are almost as, if not more important than the infrastructure, because a qualified teacher can teach good students under a tree, right? But we cannot go up and lobby Congress. You are the diaspora. You know what the requirements or what the needs of your country is. And I will leave it at that. With respect to the geriatric center, you said that you're not interested in a business, but what I was hearing indeed was a business. We don't just give sort of too much anymore of like small grants to start centers or small projects. And quite honestly, what you were describing seemed to me to be something that could indeed qualify for ADM as a proposal. Here is a proposition for some sort of a business thing. So I wouldn't necessarily write it off as being a proposal. It could be a not-for-profit business. But, I mean, there are different business models, and so I would not necessarily, but unfortunately, we do not do the small one-off grants anymore. And then finally, STEM was the other one. Again, we have what was launched at UNGA or at the Bank Fund Spring meetings. In any cases, the Global Development Lab, which is a division, or it's not quite a bureau, so it's like a division at USAID. And that, the lab, is looking for those and looking to encourage those types of activities. I mean, it's sort of it's like concurrent with sort of the main. So I would suggest that you contact, I mean, you can ask me and I'll give you the name of Ricardo or somebody. I don't know in terms of funding. I know that they are indeed very focused on STEM, but whether it or not it is the utilization of STEM in development as opposed to the instruction side, that we'd have to figure out. But STEM is something, and in fact, Mel Foote is having a conference at the World Bank. I don't know, are you familiar with the CFA, Consortium for Africa, which is also this diaspora writ large, right? So it's African Americans interested in Africa as well as diaspora. And that organization, this year their theme is indeed STEM. And they're having a meeting, almost like a conference that is being held at the World Bank. And it's probably next week or the week after, because next week is the Bank Fund annual meetings. And so I'm sure Mel is trying to do that concurrent with Bank Fund and when all the ministers of finance and trade and development are coming into Washington. So I would look at the Constituency for Africa, CFA, on their website and see what they're doing and how you might be able to link up with them in terms of their emphasis on STEM. I know one of their members, because we had them into aid most recently, and so among their members are like physicists, AAAS, right? I mean, so it really is sort of like the heavy STEM thing. That's it.
Yeah, I see Lunda approaching. Yeah, let me, that's what we do best in the diplomatic world, to thank and thank and thank again. I want to thank our distinguished panel. And Lungai, I hope you are listening. We debated a lot about this panel. And you see now, I know you can't get all the answers. But then, as Oren said, it's not only them calling you, but who like after this, you have them on your mailing list. You have the DICOTA on the mailing list. I know you have me on your mailing list, but the whole purpose was to link you. Right. And Ebong, I know you were messed up a bit with the presentation, but she has a lot. And today you must have heard, she was just talking so free about Dodoma, about Kigoma, about what. Well, that's what she does. That's what she does. But most important, we have honorable badge. He says it's not excellence. You can be anything. Because you are Shemejis, you are the Mzungu. Because this morning, when the immigration officer was presenting about citizenship, I found like Shebeji was qualifying for the factors, whether it's whether it's marriage. So you are more from Mzungu, of Tanzania Mzungu. But then, it is my colleagues, when you have a very legal, very complicated problem, but then when you are profiled and you can't defend yourself, Shebeji has opened the doors. It's just in Minnesota, but he almost covers the whole United States. So to make good use of him. But then what also struck me, I've been here for more than a year. I didn't know we have Tanzania diaspora in the oldest bank in New York. So when we were talking of capital, because he was talking about whether you see it happening or you make it happen or you wonder how it happens. I wondered how you got into the New York bank. But then we would like to make good use of him. This, you look for capital, don't go always for grant. Go for the loan, they'll give you the credit. And then we have seen one of our own who has made it. She decided to return home. And I know Muta was asking, we don't appreciate the skills. Look where she is. There is one of the highest offices in the government. She returned, and she's doing very well. So this panel, I think, if anything, has given us that there is a lot out there which we didn't know. But also for your takeaway, really I want you to get the diaspora to be visible in your business plan, because every time they tell me, if you are not on USAID. Now I am very specific to say USAID, because I think you said USAID, but they say no, it's USAID. If you are not on the business plan of USAID, it's very difficult to make it. So please put us on your business plan. And the Power Africa, we didn't get time to discuss about the Power Africa. I remember my Benson was here telling me that he has a company that wants to invest in the solar energy for 300 megawatts. I said, wow, that's big, that's Power Africa. And somebody was commenting very sarcastically. He said, what is this Power Africa? Is it politics? Is it really Power Africa? So that's why I said Benson, they should engage with you and see these companies. And Ebong every time reminds me when I want to bring the Tanzanians who want to do business here, Seri, garments, and she says, no, I do the outbound, not the inbound. But then help this one do the outbound. So anyway, I don't want to take much of the time. I know we have eaten time into Lunda's program, but I want to thank you very sincerely, and I take this to be the beginning. We have with us, I don't know where you came, we have our Chief Secretary, and Honorable Belge was saying, when you are in the US, it's very difficult to sit close to the highest government official. But in Tanzania, you see, this is a commitment. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
So in all of the previous conferences, we have had discussions or issues raised around investment, around entrepreneurship, around land, and naturally around housing. So this is a very fitting discussion in that space. And with the team with us here, I'd like to begin with Bashiru. Is he here? Bashiru is from the Ministry of Land, Housing and Human Settlement Development, accessing urban and village land in Tanzania and facilitating diaspora to own land. This is going to be his subject matter. I don't know if your presentation is already okay?
Yes,
Okay. So you are welcome, Mr. Bashiru. You can probably just begin by introducing yourself as we get the presentation ready.
Yeah, my name is Mr. Bashir Taratibu Hussein. I'm the Assistant Director for Planning and Budget at the Ministry of Land, Housing and Human Settlement Development. We are three of us from the Ministry of Land. We have our Permanent Secretary before us, Mr. Alfayo Japan Kidata. Yeah. The other one is Diela Sambula, State Attorney of the Ministry of Land, Housing and Human Settlement. And we have with us the representative from our institution, the National Housing Corporation, Mr. David, and our key stakeholders, sitting behind there. I think we are going to collaborate to respond to several issues that that are going to be raised this evening. My presentation consists of 12 slides with introduction, institutions that are under the Ministry of Land category in Tanzania, accessing urban land, accessing land in urban area, accessing land in village land, facilitating diaspora to own land, and issue related to land sector. Yeah, waiting for you.
While we are waiting for the presentation, can I throw out a very generic question? By a show of hands, who are coming from Tanzania in this session? Thank you very much. And from within the United States? I need to tell you that it is almost half-half, and that is extremely good. And I might say that for those, especially that are coming from here, they truly have issues to gain from this discussion. And they're very pleased that there is many of them. And for you coming from Tanzania, it really shows us that you truly are interested to enlighten us more about how we can play in that space. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Ministry of Land, Housing and Human Settlement Development play an important role in promoting social welfare as well as economic growth and poverty reduction. Through its mandate of overseeing the implementation of National Land Policy of 1995 and the National Human Settlement Policy of 2000, the ministry supports the growth of the productive sector by providing access to land and land management. We have two policies, as I said. The National Land Policy is implemented mainly through three acts. That is the National Land Act of 1999, the Village Land Act number 5 of 1999, and the Land Dispute Court Act number 2 of 2002. The other policy is the National Human Settlement Development Policy of 2000, which is implemented through the National Land Use Planning Act of number 6 of 2007, the Town Planners Act number 7 of 2007, and next slide. Yeah. And the Urban Planning Act number 8 of 2008. All land in Tanzania is the public land vested in the president as trustee on behalf of all Tanzania. Since 1995, after formulation of land policy, all land in Tanzania has got value. So if you want to acquire land in Tanzania, you have to pay full, fair, and prompt compensation. The land tenure in Tanzania, different from other countries, including Kenya, is a leasehold, not a freehold. We have the Ministry of Land have got several institutions under it, And those institutions include the National Housing Corporation, National Land Use Planning Commission, National Housing and Building Research Agency, dealing with the issues related to affordable housing, Ardhi Institute Tabora, and Ardhi Institute Morogoro. Land in Tanzania can be categorized into three. Village land, covering 70% of the total land area in Tanzania. General land, covering 2% of the total land, and the rest, 28% is the reserved land. Land ownership for the general land. The right of occupancy within Tanzania are principally issued to Tanzanian citizens or group of citizens, public institution, organization, association, or companies. Land Act number 4 of 1999 and its regulation has stated comprehensive procedures that must be adhered before one is allocated land. Allocation of land to non-citizens, companies, or associations are permitted only for investment purpose in accordance with the Tanzania Investment Act of 1997. And the window for non-Tanzanian to access land is through Tanzania Investment Center. Land ownership for village land. If you want to acquire land that is situated in a village, as we said, the big chunk of land is the village land, which is 70% of the total land in Tanzania. The village land is the land that has been declared as being falling under jurisdiction of land management of a registered village. The management of village land is in the hand of village council. So if you need to acquire land from village, you need to go to the village council and not to the Minister of Land. Landholder in the village land are issued with certificate of customary right of occupants. Kwa kule Tanzania tunaita hati miliki ya kimila. The legally secured certificate of customary right of occupants have equal status to granted right of occupants. Ukipata ile hati miliki ya kimila ina nguvu sawa ya kisheria kama ile hati tunaoipata kwenye general land. Unaweza kufanyia chochote. Facilitating diaspora to own land in Tanzania. We know for sure that you are faced with several problems when trying to access land in Tanzania. Issues of forgery, fraud, scarcity of surveyed plot. Sometimes you give fund to your relative to buy you a plot, but they squander the money. We understand you are facing a lot of problems. But how to overcome those problems? First of all, we are going to create awareness on land administration. Secondly, we are going to use our planning authority to make sure that we shift from allocating plot to individuals and start using allocation of plots to developers, to land developers, with the view that most of us, we need land in order for us to get houses. So with real estate developers like National Housing, Global Land Solutions, and the like, you'll be facilitated to own a house without having yourself concentrating first to buy bare land, trying to construct by your own and things like that. We advise you, as diaspora, to buy houses constructed by various real estate developers. As I said, the National Housing, PPF, PSPF, National Social Security Fund, and we do have also the Watumishi Housing. You can get your house readily available. You need not to send money for you to get a plot, start thinking of how you are going to develop it and things like that. So we encourage you to use this real estate developer for you to acquire, for you to get your house. Next slide. Yeah. As an alternative for you to get land, you can formulate a group, identify your requirement. For example, you require a certain block at Kigamboni. You identify, you set a group, you identify that you require a block, not a plot, a block for diaspora in Kinondoni, for example, or in Temeke. You identify the area of your interest, that is Temeke, raise sufficient amount of fund for land acquisition. As I said, starting from 1995, land, after having our national land policy, land has got value. So in order for you to acquire land, you need to pay full compensation. So you have to raise funds, sufficient funds for you to compensate someone in order for you to acquire land, plan it. You have private surveyor who can assist you in planning, or even the real estate developers can assist you in doing all those things. The issue is for you to organize yourself and have sufficient fund that will necessitate the acquisition, or that will facilitate the acquisition of land. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Is it the... Okay. Concerning the issues related to land, I think that's slide. Yeah, you skipped one slide. We have, as I said before, we have a delegation from the Ministry of Land, and with collaboration with our boundary partner, National Housing Corporation, Global Land Solution, a team developers will be available here today and on Sunday to make sure that we respond to diversified questions and issues that are related to land. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Hussein. And we go to the National Housing presenter, Mr. David Shambwe. And at the end of all presentations, we will welcome a few questions, depending on the amount of time left. But like the presenter just said, they're here all the way to the end of this convention to make sure that we have the opportunity to ask them questions on matters that can help us acquire land in Tanzania. And now I would like to invite David, as soon as the presentation has been set up.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
You can use
I'm going to take. Thank you very much for your time. I would like to share with you the opportunity for real estate in Tanzania, particularly what national housing does for the majority of Tanzanians, and how best as a diaspora we'll be able to benefit. In this presentation, we usually discuss and engage a lot of time with investors. So when I discuss with you, I take two perspectives. As individual investors, or you might be having some partners, or yourself, you wish to invest in Tanzania. All right. Okay, while he's trying to fix it, I can keep on presenting and then I'll catch up once we're there. So generally, National Housing Corporation has been, it was the first corporation to be established in Tanzania by the government of Tanzania in 1962, immediately after independence. This was the first corporation to be established. And apparently the real estate sector contributes 20% of national GDP. So we talk of the real estate sector and construction, the infrastructure, 20% of GDP. Why am I trying to tell you about that? It's important when you 20% of the GDP, what does it imply? It means this particular sector is all to grow. So it's a good opportunity for people to be able to catch up with the moment. Our organization has gone through reforms. For the past 4 years, we've gone through reforms, transforming national housing to become a different platform to enhance housing solutions for Tanzanians. Most of us were recruited from the private sector, coming to see how best can we put this corporation into different perspectives. And we think we have a lot of full support from the government, from the State House, everywhere. We get full support. Their support gives us energy to be able to drive forward our best we can. Apparently, we are doing various programs. We're doing affordable housing countrywide. Our target before December, we're going to be in all regions countrywide, 22 regions. And by next year, we'll be in all districts, 150 districts countrywide. So that enables you to buy a home for your mother, your uncle, in your village home. But apart from that, in cities, we own 5 to 30% of the land in the cities. All central business district of Tanzania, we own from 5 to 30%. This is actual property in prime land. In our development programs, we are using urban development program. In urban development programs, we crash down the value of the property, which are sitting on high value land, but the yield benefit of the property is much less. So what we usually do, we crash down the property and put in modern property that can give us more revenue. But we also do that, we crash down the property and put mixed-use development, whereby the residents, they can live in the complex while getting necessary savings, commercial, clubhouse, entertainment, all together under one roof. To enable the city to become live. Today, Dar es Salaam, in the morning, everybody comes in town. In the evening, everybody goes home. So we're working hard to make sure that Dar es Salaam city and the other cities are live and people are getting benefit. We have had challenges. The market in real estate used to be overpriced because of lack of supplies. The property developers were not there, existing. But when we walk in, Our job was simple, producing house as much as we can, everybody to get opportunity to own home. Banks were not willing to offer mortgage. We went through reforms of the law. In 2008, we participated in making sure that the law reforms takes place. Became Unit Titles Act to enable condominium section title people to own and get necessary rights. We went further. We go to the Mortgage Financial Special Provision Act to reform the mortgage financing, whereby banks were much worried to extend loan to people because somebody would have been able to go to the court and create an injunction. But we overcome and remove that. To date, if you take a property and they don't sell the loan, they go to court, they ask you 2 questions. Do you take a mortgage? Yes. Have you set your loan? No. That's it. The property is gone. That makes the bank to be comfortable. But we went further, asking the bank, you're not comfortable yet, but we'll sell the property to our customers. And if you go to the market, you don't get customer, we can buy back the property. We now give them bank guarantee. Now go try to sell the property to the market. If you don't get customer, bring it back. We'll take it, we'll refurnish and sell it to another person. So we give the bank comfort. We have 12 bank partners now. CRDB, Tanzania are among our partners, and the rest, we have 12 banks. They're offering mortgage to people. We're now doing a lot of education. There's opportunity for you guys. For those of you who are regulated, mortgage accredited people, there's so many knowledge required for people. People doesn't know a lot of skills about mortgages, mortgage financing, how to personal finance management. Here's opportunities. You can come and do it. Another thing, you need to invest for property whole, because you can buy a house for your mother, or you can buy a house. And remember, the good thing about our property are located in prime land. We do satellite city. We have almost 10 satellite cities. Today, we are doing. In Arusha, we have 2. In Dar es Salaam, we have 2. We have one Luguruni and another at Kigamboni, we call it Salama Creek. But we have a series of small projects, like 200 units going on in different parts of Tanzania. So our target is meeting 15,000 housing units by 2015. But so far we have a lot of units at the planning stage, production stage. So I'm trying to see how I can just show you some few snapshot of stuff, because the file is too heavy. The computer is small. We'll try to see if we can get a chance tomorrow in the showcase what we have, for you to be able to see exactly what can be visible for you.
On the big screen.
On the big screen, yeah, tomorrow.
We'll put it on a better capacity.
So what I'm trying to ask you guys, we have a booth there. Get time to visit us. If you get time tomorrow, we'll discuss more. I'll show you exactly the development that we have. You can exactly see what we're talking about. And for those, we have a number of people who already purchased properties in diaspora. And apparently, I have a lot of customers from Ethiopia. I have a lot of customers. Most of them are working in European Union. I have a lot of customers in Europe. I have some good market which is also coming up from the USA. So I one day bring in people to witness. And actually have one of my customers here. She was in Tanzania last week and enjoyed a lot of our service. Our service is special. I know that most of you, when you come in there, you don't have a car, right? But we take you to the site, we're using our car with our sales team. You just raise the question through the internet, we get answers. We make sure that you get the best service that you can. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shambwe. Actually, it's unfortunate that we don't have the presentation, but we will have the opportunity to see it later. And my takeaway, just because the presentation was incomplete, is that we can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't.
Put closer.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes. Sorry about that. The takeaway that I'd like to share with you, because the presentation was incomplete, machine failure, is that there is a huge opportunity for both investment and just looking for ownership of housing and even acquisition of land. And the National Housing Corporation has put in place a mechanism that allows us to deal on matters of real estate with mortgage facilities that are well supported by banks, and most of the risk factors that banks take into account and tend to deny, looks like they've covered them very well. So if you qualify, and many of us I know would love to own houses there, would be great. The second thing that I picked up is that as a business within the area, the mortgage industry itself is a big business, is a wide business. So there are areas within that, whether it is mortgage origination exercises or whatever it is, there is various skill sets and services required from the point you notice where to buy a house until you close. There is a lot of services which you can do, and using the diaspora experience and run a good business that brings you profit and also creates employment at home. I thought I should just add, and if I made a mistake, the speaker can correct it. So I'd like to give you another round of applause for a very good presentation. Moving on, we are coming to another very important presentation by Andrew Mkapa, who will be talking to us on the issues of BRELA. They have the mandate and the registration of companies in the country. Almost all of us trying to do business there, we're going to have to deal with BRELA at some point. Mr. Mkapa, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm on the ski. With the microphone. Okay. It's okay, no problem. Okay, my name is Andrew Mkapa. I'm the Deputy Registrar with the Business Registrations and Licensing Agency in Tanzania. My presentation will cover about 7 topics. First of all, next slide, please. I will see what is BRELA. We'll also share to see the various roles that BRELA has. We'll see the vision and mission statement of BRELA. And then we will hear the registration of companies in Tanzania mainland, and we will later on see or know why I say Tanzania mainland and not Tanzania. We will also have a summary of the 2014 Doing Business report. I will also share with you some new developments that BRELA has done so far to improve its the way of doing business. And then I will also share with you some challenges and strategies that BRELA has come with to overcome the same challenges. Next. So BRELA is an acronym for Business Registrations and Licensing Agency. This is a semi-autonomous agency which is under the Ministry of Industry and Trade. It is not all that new anymore, but this is a department, it is an institution which was formerly a department under the Ministry of Industry and Trade, known as the Office of the Registrar of Companies. And I think you're aware that during the late 90s, there were some public service reforms in the country, and one of the reforms was that some of the government departments were turned into what are known as government executive agents, so as to give them a semi-autonomous status, and so as the decisions could be made easier so as to do away with the unnecessary bureaucratic procedures if the institutions are managed directly by the central government. So it was established in 1999. It is managed by the Chief Executive Officer, who is also the Registrar of Companies, Business Name, Patents, Trademarks, and in Tanzania. And at the moment, we have about 60 employees, and our offices are situated only in Dar es Salaam. Next slide, please. Some of our roles as BRELA. The first one is to register companies under the Companies Act, Cap 212. We also register what are known as business names under Cap 213. These, I think, here in the US are known as DBAs, doing business as. Those are the business names. We call them business names. And we also register trademarks and service marks, what are known as industrial property laws. We also issue industrial licenses under that law, which is number 10 of 1967.